Susie Moore, welcome to the Her Empire Builder podcast. I am so happy to have you here. Hi.
Tina, you're such a light. I'll take any time that I can spend with you. So thank you so much for having me. I'm really just so excited for our conversation.
You're amazing. And I was saying before I hit record that, I went overboard on the podcast interviews because I knew when my book came out, it was going to be the best way to expand my audience because I didn't have the profile that you have. And I did 63 interviews across 2 months. Oh. And the questions all get the same, but I'm still going to ask you like a lot of those same questions. Okay. So bear with me because I want to know like both the basics from the book, the content of the book, and then also your kick-ass business journey. So I want to ask you.
Okay, let's do it all.
Yeah. So starting of the book first. So the book is out November 9th, Let It Be Easy. And if people are watching on YouTube, like you've got this Let It Be Easy light up sign behind you, which I love. Always with the branding.
Always. Let it be easy. Let people see the name of your book all the time. Why not?
Yeah. So what was the catalyst for bringing this book to life? Because is this your third book, second book?
Yes, my third. Yes, Tina. Well, I joke in the book that ease needs a good lawyer because no one is representing it. Like, Tina, when has anyone ever said to you, oh yeah, that thing that you want, that's really easy?
Yeah.
People will tell you all the time, running a business is hard. Oh, but having an employer is hard. Oh, having kids is hard. Oh, not having kids, that's really hard. Marriage is hard. Being single, that's hard. Like, where is the ease? Like, when can we stretch our legs and enjoy our life? And I know this personally. So those of you who've maybe read my books or know my work, you know that I grew up living in domestic abuse shelters on welfare, like chaos, a lot of things happening, right, as a kid. And I remember when I was a kid, I think to myself, like, I saw my mom struggle, right? It felt very hard for her. I thought to myself, it's going to be easy for me though, because I'm going to grow up, I'm going to get a good job, I'm going to marry someone normal and stable, I'm going to be able to take care of her. And like this hard thing that we're experiencing, it's only temporary. Right. And then so I worked hard, got a career in the US. I was in the Silicon Valley tech world, earning $500,000 at the age of 30, married to a very nice man. But Tina, it still wasn't easy. There was a whole host of other hard things in my life. And I then just started thinking to myself, like, when is the good part? Like, when do I get to really kick back, stretch my legs and enjoy, like, and really be like present and enjoy my life?
And for most people, that's never.
It's never. You can go to the grave like, oh, why didn't I let myself be happier? Actually, it was the entire period that I could have let myself be happier. But I've become obsessed with ease, and I've learned that it's a skill like any other. And so I'm obsessed with talking about it and normalizing it and like really making it something that we think about versus just something that's like impossible and nice for a few people who have loads of blessing.
Yeah. And I actually have on my wall just above me, what if it was easy? So like the similar sort of thing in going. And one of the things that I wanted to ask you was, do you think ease and having that easy sort of thing is an attitude and a perception of the situation, or like the practicality of it? Because I know that the reason I asked that is I was having a conversation even yesterday with someone in going, they wanted to give up on their business. They'd done a couple of launches and they hadn't gone very well. And they're like, you know what? It's just so hard. And a part of me was like, well, I think so many people give up in that first year because of the expectation that it is going to be really easy and you're going to have a 7-figure business overnight and it's just all going to happen in ease. And so I wanted to ask you that question, like, because I knew we were interviewing today, and I thought of you at the time when I said, of course it's hard. But I also think that, yes, it's hard, but you can still perceive that as like, of course it's hard, which actually makes it easy. Does that make sense? Like,
it makes total sense. It makes total sense. Here's the kicker, right? Having $1 million business in your first year is possible. It's maybe not like likely, right? Because there is a learning curve and some things just do take time, but the ease kicks in when you stop thinking that that's exactly the result that you need to be successful.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like you can be very successful, like in your first year without hitting any type of financial benchmark. But if you're thinking this benchmark has to be hit in order for me to be good enough and for me to continue, then that's you making your life really hard. Right.
Yeah.
And that's when that belief of I have to X before I can like celebrate myself or, congratulate myself, or even just go a little easier on myself at the most bare basic level. Like it's what am I believing about this? And is that belief true?
Yes. And I think that's what it is for me. And that's what I was thinking the whole way through your book, is going, because I know personally, I deal with a lot of things in life and business, but I never really make, two different situations can happen to the same. And you use this example in the book too, is someone can have the exact same situation, but the experience of that situation and what we take from that is so different depending on our attitude. And it makes such a difference to our level of joy, which
okay, so think about it. So say two people starting a business, right? Say you make $40,000 in your first year, just say that, right? For one person, they'd be like, hey, look, this didn't pay as much as my salary, right? But wow, like this is a full-time income. And look, I'm adjusting, I'm learning, I'm already in like this 5-figure range. I'm just getting started. Like, whoa, like this is delicious. Like I'm just in the appetizer stage. And someone else would be like, this is too hard. I'm working more than I used to work in my job. I suck. Everyone else, and then name 10 people who you look up to in the business world. They're so much better than me. I'll never be them. I suck.
100%.
What do you believe? Like, what are you believing about your result? And why not just look at it with the truth? Like, do you suck? Like, let's look at it. Do you suck? If it was someone else, like if you're observing someone else who's learning something brand new, like Tina, if it was like so simple to make millions of dollars every year, wouldn't we all be doing that? Like day one? It takes some learning, like it takes some time. You have to become a different person, which takes some time. So why can't that be okay? Like, why can't that be like, and maybe it's not ideal. And yes, there is like a feeling of, I want to do more and create more, but why overall can't it still be okay? And like, yes, I'm learning, I'm getting that, I'm on my path.
Yeah. And so with that beginning journey, like to make it in success, you've got to do exceptional measures of focus, strategic, hard work, both on yourself personally and tangibly as well. How do you interpret that in terms of, it's not a lifestyle business. I think sometimes people interpret easy as, you're going to be, you're in Miami, like sitting on the beach, drinking cocktails all day. Like
the millions roll in. Yeah.
And I think that's why ease gets a bad rap sometimes, is because ease isn't doing that. Ease is looking at it and letting it flow and letting it come easy. But how do you interpret it in terms of having to get in and like do the necessary strategic hard work, but in a more easy flowy way?
Yes. I feel it. I don't even say hard work. Like I just say work, right? Because like, of course there's work involved. Like, of course, and that's also the pleasure of it, right? Like the pleasure and we're lying to ourselves if we think in our happiest moments it's not when we're working on something that we love, right? We don't have the
give me Kajabi and Canva and let me create something from scratch, and I'm like, this is great.
It's as good as having like a piece of cake. It feels so great. Like, if I'm working on an article and I'm like, oh wait, no, that's not the exact word that I want, and I really want to get this point, and I'm like, I've got like a pencil in my mouth, and I'm like, that's when I'm just happy, right? Is that hard work? Like, I don't know. I mean, it's work, certainly. I mean, there is an outcome. There was a blank page. Now there's 750 words and a link to my products and a fee. Like, that's lovely, right? Like, that's how it's meant to be. So the way that I think about it is there's real stress, right? In life, right? There's real stress when we have to take immediate action. There is adrenaline in our body. Like there is real stress, right? But there's also so much imagined stress that we love to like just pile on lavishly to everything. And it's like, what am I believing about this situation, this outcome, this task, whatever it is that's, causing the stress? Like, what am I believing here that might actually not stand up in court, like as a truth, if I were to really look at it, because we're living and suffering as if it's all the imagined stress is true. And I love what Mark Twain said. He put it best, like as it's in my introduction. I'm like, he says, I've lived through some terrible things in my life, some of which actually happened.
I circled that.
Right?
Because and you said it early. I can't remember. It was like in the first 10 sort of bits that you talked about the addiction to stress. And I read about that bit and went, ooh, Oh yeah, because I know a big part for me in my journey, I sold my last company when I was in 2016, and that was very high stress. I had adrenal fatigue by the time I finished. It was very demanding, and I sold it because I was like, this is not the life for me. This is not what I imagined. I wanted more ease. I wanted more joy, and I got to there. But then interestingly, I started this new business and started feeling that coming back in. And so I've paid a lot of attention to the addiction distress and going, I am very comfortable in that struggle, in that fight, in that pressure. And one of the what I was so excited when I saw your book is that's one of the biggest things I've worked on in the last 2 years is going, chill the fuck out, man. Like,
Yes.
Yes, like not everything has to be okay. Let's like really, like we're running businesses, it's not.
And I think that this is where the challenge is, right? Because we expect, like we have these very strange expectations, right? We expect people shouldn't criticize us, right? People shouldn't refund, right? People shouldn't get into little Facebook groups and talk about how much they hate us, right? Like people
no one's saying that about us.
But the thing is, say that there's a Facebook group dedicated to hating you or me, right? Or both of us, right? Okay, so there's a Facebook group that hates us so much and they rant about how much they hate us, right? Say that happens. Is that the problem? Or is the problem that we think that shouldn't happen? Like the resistance to what is happening is where all the stress comes in. Like if I see anything, and look, you will be criticized if you're willing to create anything, especially at scale. Like you will, like don't even bother trying to prevent it. Like just like go, okay, it's part of the ride. There's a shadow side to everything. So if I think what did she say? Oh, I'm gonna set her straight. Like that the all the stress I'm experiencing is someone shouldn't do that. Like what if she should do that? Like I've accepted that fully. So the stress that I could experience, I'm not available. Like it's just, you can't get your claws in me that way.
Yeah.
Like it's not pleasant.
So excited when I got my first 1-star review on the podcast, because I was like, oh, it's people now outside of my like core group that are listening. So I was like, this is awesome. I'm getting that.
Yes. I have this horrible review for my last book, bad language, horrible, terrible example for teenagers. I'm like, good. And that's true for her. And that's allowed, so I get to say my bit. Someone else gets to say their bit. Like the stress isn't, I need to take this down. I need to, it's like, what if that's okay? Like, what if these things that will happen, right? Truly like, and it's not like armor up, they're going to happen. It's like, lovingly, like these things are going to happen, like at peace. Then a lot of the stress just dissolves on its own when you question, like, what is the truth here?
Yeah. And so you were living in that high stress sort of environment with your big ass salary and your beautiful life to go with it, with all of those, because that life is like a package. Like a lot of other complications come along with that. How did your relationship with that go in terms of going, okay, I'm living in this high stress environment, I'm thinking all these things. How did you then become the most, beautiful, sunshine, wholesome life coach, writer extraordinaire now?
Well, Tina, I think, in my opinion, the only self-help that's worth its weight in salt, right? Like and self-help is my life, right? Yeah. The only self-help that really exists is like when we stop lying to ourselves. Right? It's like when we just tell the truth. And I remember with my job that, look, I had a lot of perks, right? And I'm very appreciative. I always will be. It set me up in a lot of ways, but I was always worried, like, is my boss happy? Am I going to lose this account? Is this client going to pull their campaign? Like, what if my tech team can't deliver on this product feature? And I was like, what do I get? Like, no wonder I'm drinking so much. Like, no wonder I'm like, and on Sunday night, I get that sick feeling, that what can go wrong this week? And nothing had gone wrong yet. Like nothing. And this is sometimes why even peak moments can bring fear, right? Because you're like, it's so good. What's going to happen? I mean, okay, Tina, this is funny, right? I was listening to it's Cristiano Ronaldo. I don't know anything about sport, but I know he's the best footballer or soccer player, as they say, in the world, right? And he said this. He said, when you're starting out, no one respects you, right? Because you're brand new. When you're in the middle, everyone ignores you because you're like everyone else in the middle. When you're at the top, everyone like has an opinion about you, right? Like people kind of come after you. And he's like, when you're at the top, you're terrified of losing it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, like where is the good part? Like the beginning's bad, the middle, the top, the very top.
Send him an email and go, let's talk.
Let it be easy, Christian, honey, darling, enjoy where you are. Like, but like isn't that the madness? Like we're living, it's insane, Tina. Like it is insane. And people will tell you, right? You're a mother. Newborns, you'll never sleep. Toddlers, they'll kill you. Teenagers, they're the worst. Like when can you enjoy your kids?
Yes.
Like,
and so I want to ask you a question on this, because I've got this later and this fits in perfectly there with the, like my note is, I feel bad projecting the easy. And what I mean by that is I mean, yes, for regular listeners of the podcast and for people that follow me on Instagram, know that in the last couple of weeks, my son was experimenting in the backyard, creating a backyard flamethrower, and blew himself up. And so he's got 3rd-degree burns to 20% of his body. It is recovering at the moment. But I've always had a very easy journey with my kids. And, you know, when they were babies, they were such good babies, and everyone, exactly as you said, were going, just wait until they're toddlers, they're terrible when they're toddlers, and then they'd have toddlers, they'd sleep, they were wonderful, they're like, oh, just wait till, and then they're like, wait until they're teenagers. And yes, granted, my son just ended himself in hospital, but you know what, he made a bad decision. He's not a bad kid, and he will be totally fine. So we're very lucky. But I know even in life and so people will say to me, don't believe, you know, you hear it all the time, don't believe social media, because it's just the highlight reel of someone's life and you can't compare yourself to that. I never share on social media how good my life is. My life is like 10 times better than social media, because I always feel like people will hate me for it being so good, because the hard is glorified, the easy is not. And people are like, oh, look how good it is for her. How do you deal with that? Because you're all sunshine.
I'm so happy you're sharing this, because this is very common, right? Like you're not the only one who's like, oh, I can't share, like maybe I bought this new thing, or like maybe I don't work that many hours in a day, right? Or like whatever, like, or maybe your team is just seamless and like they're so loyal, and like everyone's complaining about, you know, the people that they work with, you know, etc. So it's interesting, right? Like it's interesting. So my question to you would be like, what do you, but like, so if you present just the truth, right? So you're not lying, exaggerating, like, and by the way, bragging isn't bragging if it's the truth, right? When we tell the truth, right? Like what is it you believe will happen that people will watch? They will watch.
Hate me for it. Be like, oh, you know, the rocks will start throwing. Like, oh, vomit in my mouth just a little bit.
The pitchforks will come out. Yeah, the pitchforks will come out for you. Okay, so people won't like you and they'll attack you. I would just say like, I'd say like, is that true?
Well, I think for some it would be. Yeah.
For how many?
Yeah.
Out of 100 people who are observing you. For how many?
Probably a couple. Yeah.
Probably a couple.
Yeah. Yeah. And we should be okay with that, right? I'm like getting now live on the
I would ask you this, right? If you are observing who's someone that you love, if you're like, I love, I don't know, Lady Gaga or something like that, right? Whoever. And she's sharing, oh, this is my amazing man.
Delta, Susie. Delta is my person.
Oh, Delta. Oh, I love
you were in Australia. You know Delta.
Yes, Delta. Okay, so say, and I don't know anything about Delta's life right now, but just say she's like, this is my gorgeous man. This is my gorgeous jet. This is my gorgeous baby. This is my like my new bedding. Like, how do you feel if you just see her just show the truth of her life?
Yes, so I love her. But interestingly, she is hated by a whole cross section of the country because, and this is the thing the media says, she's too nice and too happy and too positive, and that can't be real. See, this is what we deal with from the media. And I go, I see that, and it's just reinforced my whole opinion.
Wow. And so I would say, looking at Delta, looking at you, looking at really anybody.
Yeah.
We kind of also pay attention to what we're believing, right? So if you think people won't like you if you share your life, like the good things about your life, that's what you're kind of tuned into noticing. right? I can tell you that when someone posts something or shares something that's aspirational for me, it's inspiring. For someone else, it's intimidating.
Yeah.
Right. And I can tell you, like, Tina, there'd be people who'd see like the blessings that you've been given and what you've created, what you've allowed in, what you haven't resisted. And that will be like the push to then follow you, to then do it. Like, success is generous because you're showing, look what's available. You're here on earth like everybody else.
Yeah.
Right. You've got a body, you've got a voice, you've got a brain, just like the rest of us. Right.
Yes.
And so look what's happened to you. Like, there's no one who is exceptional, right? There's not like, it's okay for this one person and then that one guy over there. And then, yep, Elon Musk, we're born into this world. We all have different, unique gifts. And what we do with that is it's inspirational. Like, if we get blessings, if we kind of get to be, do, and have many things, and there's proof of that, then that's just proof of what's possible for human beings.
Yes. I love that.
As a whole, and success is generous in this way. And there will always be those people, even if you said like, I'm having a miserable day and everything is terrible. There'll be people who will be like, oh, she's so negative. Look at her. She should be great. She should be grateful. Like, so there's one or two. And then when, like, it really is a good question. How many, how many people won't like it? Like,
I'll experiment with it and we'll see. Hey.
yeah. I mean, what do you have to lose? Like, really? Yeah. And I know that it's not holding back, that it's inspiring.
Like, have you seen Leonie Dawson in online course creation?
I don't think so. No.
She's one of my most intriguing people because she's so incredibly different to anybody else that I have met. But she shares this she has like this end of month email where she puts in everything that she did in the month, what worked, what didn't, and also puts like her Kajabi dashboard screenshots and says, I made this much from this course. I made this much from this course, like radical transparency. And I always see her, and I was talking to her about it. She's like, honey, like, it's inspiring. Just share it with your audience. I'm like, I would not dare. And so this is a really interesting thing. And she said the same to me, like, what are you afraid of? Is it the judgment of other people that you're doing well? I'm actually afraid someone's going to find out where I live and come rob me. Like, I'm not afraid of security.
And there are some practical things to consider sometimes like that. But so I'm guessing this lady that you mentioned, she's doing quite well, right? She's sharing, and maybe there's a dip or whatever, but she's still sharing it. Yeah. It's like, think of all those people who don't believe you can make money online, right? Think about all those people who are like, well, you have to be, in a specific city and you need to know this person. It's like, what if there's some woman who's doing well and sharing it? It's like, wow, it's so generous to do that.
And this segues perfectly into this, because in number 9 was one of my favorite points, and in that you quote someone that says, when you know better, you do better. And I really liked that, because I think sometimes we get tied to the belief that you've just challenged me on, which I love, to go, well, I can know better and I can do better with that. And I think sometimes, like at the very beginning, you were saying some people can live their whole life in resisting to that joy and resisting to that ease. But it is hard for a lot of people to change. How do we take that and go, okay, we know we can only know what we know now, and if we do know better and change, how can people implement that change when it is seemingly so hard? And we know we can just change in an instant if we want to, but for some people that have been holding on to these beliefs for such a long time, it is really hard.
Well, this is, and even when we believe, like, it is really hard, is that true? Like, so I can tell you this. I mean, for example, one thing that I love to teach is desire hacking, right? So what that means is, if there's something that you really love, like in your life, but it's not healthy for you, I have a method where you actually no longer desire the thing. Right. So, and the way that you could talk about this is, say you're a non-smoker and you're around 20 smokers and they're all smoking, you won't care. Right. Like, it'd be like, do your thing, whatever. Right. Or if just say you have no interest in gambling and everyone's going to the casino, like, you don't care. Right. Because that's just not or same with alcohol, same with like so many different things. Yeah. When you think about like, what is it I'm believing? Like this actually happened to me this year when I stopped drinking alcohol for 3 months, and it was so easy. It was so easy. And it was because I questioned, I'm like, what's alcohol bringing to my life? Not a judgment, just a question. And I'm like, it's fun. It's what everyone does, right? It's fun. It's what everyone does. And what was my other reason? It's relaxing, right? So I'm like, is it fun or am I fun? Right? Like, because even if I was sitting with the most boring person in the
You're
world,
so much fun.
but it wouldn't matter how much wine there was if it was a boring situation, you know, like,
Yes.
so I'm
It
like,
just
is
allows
it
you to have a little bit more fun in your head while you're in said boring situation.
or you just think like that, what am I believing about that? Like, I believe alcohol brings the fun. That means I'm really underestimating myself. Like, you know, secondly, what was I saying? Oh, it's what everyone does. Is it? There are so many non-drinkers these days. Like, it opened my mind when I realized, oh, actually, people aren't drinking. It's me. Like, I just am, you know? And then the third one is like, it helps me relax. Does it? It keeps you awake. Like, so like, what is it we're believing? So if someone even says, you know, changing your beliefs is hard, I don't know. Like, if you look at it like spotlight, like true spotlight, the truth cannot, like, a false belief cannot withstand sincere questioning. Like, it just collapses. It's like, yeah, but, and you feel like I've had this allegiance to this belief forever. So there has to be, like, I've spent loads of money on this belief. Like, there's so much, like, I'm tied to this belief. If you really look at it, and this takes some courage, right? And you have to want to be willing to change something. You wouldn't do this for something that's working really well for you. You know what I mean? But if you're thinking about maybe there's a change, you're like, let's really look at it. Like, let's look at it. Like, what is it? Like, what is it I'm believing? Is it really true? And if it's true for me, then it must be true for everybody else. Right. So if you said something like, you know, if you want to make $1 million a year, you have to work 12 hours a day. Right. Just say that that's a belief that you have. Right. And plenty of people do have similar beliefs. Right. Like, I don't. No. I don't. There's no way. I can't work that hard. Like, I can't work that long. I cannot. I will fall asleep. You know, I can't. So you always want to look for contrarian evidence. And it's there. It's just we're not tuned into it because that's not how our brains work. Our brains are association machines. So they'll look for evidence that supports our belief all the time. So what if you welcome something else? And again, don't just take my word for it. It's not like you can change your beliefs. It's like, look at it. Like, is your belief true? And if it's causing you stress and suffering, it's probably not. Or not to the extent to which you defend it. Yes, I love that.
That was I had to, but I've noticed how many times just even in this conversation, I've said the word hard.
Well, and then like working hard, this is hard, that's hard. I don't know.
I was thinking before, like, behavior change is hard. I'm like, damn, Tina, stop it. You realize how many times I say that, but I like to think that I live in a pretty easy way. So I've got a lot of work to do with that.
Well, do you? I don't know. Maybe you don't. Like, it's interesting. Like, you kind of play around with it. And also, Tina, like, our language is the language of the people around us. And yours, like, if someone's like, life's hard, work's hard, you're speaking the language of the majority, right? So this is why it also takes a bit of courage to say, I'm not buying into that. Like, I don't know. Is that true for me? Let's see.
Yeah. And I love in the book, you say, I should have written it down, but it was a line that was around, like, common sense is uncommon. And going, you were talking about going, like, a lot of what you're talking about in the book is common sense. Like, it is something that we should be able to, like, when we know it, we go, well, yeah, you know, it's not rocket science, but why is it so uncommon? And why do we forget it? That we can make that decision in an instant, that we can change in an instant, that we can just change our whole perspective on something. Why is that so uncommon?
It's really not our fault to a point, you know, because there's this doctrine, right? There's this like doctrine that, you know, everything good requires suffering, right? And everything like, I know that isn't true. My best opportunities have come to me. Yes. Like, I've done work in other areas, right? Not hard work, right? But I do my thing. I show up, I'm faithful, I'm obedient. Like, I follow through, I'm reliable. Like, I create, right? Even when it's scary and uncomfortable, I do my thing. And then I expect good things to happen. Like, I expect it. That's also quite a rare thing, to expect good things, you know, but because we're told, like, oh, gotta work really hard for that. Oh, yeah, that happens after a certain period, or that you have to be like this for that to happen to you, right? We absorb so much. But an example I gave in the book just for fun, right? But it's also funny because it's true. It's like when you were a kid and someone's like, hey, Santa isn't real. Right? You don't need like 6 months of deprogramming the belief
Yeah.
But like sound is like, wait, I need to sit with that. Let me question that. Wait, I gotta cry and like get my head like it's like, oh, something that I was so in love with and like certain of, just, you know, poof, like what if that were true of so many beliefs? Like it takes a bit of time, right, to turn like dogma on its head. But once you kind of go, I don't know, I'm not buying into that stress, or everyone's freaking out about that. I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not playing that game.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny how quickly you just, like, the transformation doesn't have to be this long, deep experience. It's just, I thought something was true. It's not.
Yeah. Yeah. There we go. We're done.
Yeah. Truly,
Yeah,
it's like, oh, it's like, you know, oh, being on television, like that's such a big, scary thing. You have to get the perfect outfit, can't mess up a word. Live TV, like it's really risky. Is it? Who even watches morning TV? Like, you just got to be easier about it on yourself. We just need the
logo on our website, Susie. That's all we need.
Yes.
At this point, that's all we need.
I remember before my first Today Show appearance, I was really nervous. And I remember I spoke to two friends of mine.
Yeah.
And one was like, oh my God, like how many millions of people watch that show? Like how many millions? And I'm like, oh man, like this, they made a mistake calling me like, like, what if I mess up? Like I have to be so prepared and perfect, like how to, like not a comma out of like place in my speech, right? Yeah. And then another friend, she was like, oh yeah, like I've been on the Today Show a few times for like this fitness thing that I've done, my boss did. She's like, there's really great tacos actually, like around the, and I'm like, I'm not thinking about the tacos. I just need to like get through this alive, you know? Yeah. And she's like, yeah, it's just and I'm like, it's the same thing, a television segment, 7 minutes or whatever it is, live, right? National. Yeah. Some like you can freak out how many millions. Don't ask those people. Yeah. And then the person who's like thinking about what I should eat like afterwards, and I shouldn't miss out on this taco stand, you know?
Yeah. Like it is the weirdest experience though. Like when I went and you're in there and then you're like done and they're like, let you out a side door and they're like, see you later. And you're in the car park going, what?
Yeah, what just happened? Did you? I hope you enjoyed it. You demiked and then you're out, and it's like, well, I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, you know, like, that's your life. Quick. So it's like, you know, the stimuli, like this circumstance, this the TV, whatever it is, isn't the thing. Like, what is your relationship to the thing?
Yeah, I think the biggest lesson in beliefs that I got, because we a couple of years ago, before COVID, thank goodness, traveled around the world for a year, and we went to 28 countries. So we did fast travel and kind of explored a lot of different cultures and a lot of things. And for me, it was so incredible how so many cultures have these like hardcore beliefs that are so true to them, and whereas, you know, Australians going, what? No. But for them, they're looking at us going, what? No. And things were so different, but so true for them in different places. And we had such great conversations with the kids about beliefs and going, beliefs become real when you have them for long enough and you don't question them. And so, yeah, it is everywhere. But I want to ask you about, because, you know, this is a podcast for course creators as well. And you are a kick-ass course creator, woman.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Can you touch on how you've managed to, because you came into this world as a life coach, which is hugely competitive. There are a lot of life coaches. How did you get your business off the ground and to where it is now in this amazing situation?
So first of all, I never thought it was competitive. I know that there are many coaches, just like in any field, but other coaches, I find I really like them. And I've also cultivated friends with other coaches, and we even collaborate. So I feel like
it's my favorite thing about the online industry. Actually, it never happened in my previous industry that I was in, but with this one, it's like so many people collaborating in each other's programs and conferences. I think like it's beautiful.
And I also thought too, it's great that there are other coaches because I will learn from them. They've kind of done a lot of the trailblazing for me. They've educated the market on what a life coach is. So I don't have to explain what that is. Sometimes I still have to actually, but very rarely, you know, does that really come up. And then also I feel like they help me. Like if I have a question, I would have someone to ask. So I thought that there being a lot of coaches was a real advantage.
Yeah.
Like I'm not doing something cold, like figuring
Yeah.
like a Steve Jobs, like doing something, that's never been done. I'm like, I'm entering a field that's really successful. So that's a good sign. And like, thank God for all these fellow coaches before me, because my job's going to be easier now. Right. So, so I started out like doing one-on-one coaching, and because I've been obsessed with ease, I was like, how can I like explode this so I can leave my very nice paying job? I'm going to need a lot of people. I can't just be like a trickle of new clients, and I don't want to rely on referrals, and I'm not going to networking events.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, so I was like quite rigid about those things.
Yeah.
And one afternoon I was in my cubicle reading. At the time it was Mind Body Green. I still love Mind Body Green. And I was like, what if I was like, this kind of advice is stuff that I could give. And I'm like, what if I just submit, something and see what happens, And then a friend of mine was late to meet me for drinks in the meatpacking district in New York. And so I had like 30 minutes and I just wrote a piece and I submitted it. And then 2 weeks later, it was live in Mind Body Green, my first author page, my first media feature. I posted it everywhere. Everyone took me seriously after that. And I was like brand new, didn't have a website, didn't have a Facebook business page, nothing. And the very first piece had nearly 4,000 shares.
Wow.
So what that means for the views, right?
Yeah.
Like that's representative of like a lot more views. And I was like, this is it. This is how I'm going to grow my business. Like ease, check, like it's free, it's credibility building. I didn't even realize the many other gifts that would come as a result of having the courage to just like put my hat in the ring for something like that. And so now I've been teaching that too, because it does come naturally to me, like just kind of creating ideas, making connections. And it's such a wonderful skill. So having the ability to know what works, to reach larger audiences, to create great content, and just to remember, like, it's such a blessing. Like I call it the get to do list, right? Like the things that I get to do all the time. Yeah. But like, I mean, I get to have conversations about my favorite topic, like with you right now. Is this working?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's working if you look to my calendar as, what I've got to be here at a certain time. But I don't know. I mean, this is thrilling. This would be as fun as, us having wine talking about men, like
I would much rather this.
Right. So I just feel as if like I'm appreciative of everything. If I see an opportunity, I will seize it unapologetically. And I also believe that if I can serve a few people with something, then it could potentially be millions. So just like set your sights for like bigger service, and then good things happen.
I love that so much. So on the horizon for you, are you a planner for the future, or do you like wing it and see what the world's going to bring you? How do you look at that?
Yeah, I'm more of a winger. Yeah. But I love that. I also feel like it leaves space. Like it leaves space for like some spontaneity and creativity. And I think like, life, there are so many disruptions that happen in a good way, like good and bad. But no, I'm not a planner. You strike me as a planner, Tina.
Do you know, I just, Jill Stanton, I just did a business coaching sprint with her for 12 weeks. And she was laughing her ass off at me, Susie, because I am the person that has like the 5-year plan, the 3-year plan, the 1-year plans broken into 90-day quarterly action steps, broken into weekly things. I got spreadsheets. I've got everything there. And she's like, how do you even, if you're planting all the things you're missing out on so many opportunities by just looking at your plan and not just seeing where the world's going to take you. And so next year is actually my experiment in going, if it's not fun, I'm not doing it. I've missed travel so much for the last couple of years that I'm going everywhere. I'll be in Miami in March, which is great. Yeah. We'll catch up for that.
Yes, we will.
Cocktail and chat. And then, so I'm doing all of these different things and trying to just see where the wind takes me, which is a very different, scary thing for me, because I get safety from the system.
Do you?
Yeah.
But perceive safety, right? Like you get a feeling of like, I'm in safety.
Yeah.
So what do you know? There could be like, who knows what can shift in the market? Who knows like what else could just come your way? Who knows? Like there might be a massive collaboration opportunity. Like it can flip everything, there has to be a bit of room for the magic.
Yes. And this is what I'm learning. This is what I'm
learning.
Yeah. But this question is about you. Oh my God. You can always tell when you interview coaches, because you're like, I'm like, hang on a minute, stop coaching me.
I'm not not really a plan. I mean, I know what I know like the next couple of months what my promotions are, and if there's something that I've committed to, and I know if I have like a book release. But
have you got like a
yeah,
big dream that you're going for?
I feel like I'm living it.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
like
I love that.
I feel like
Yeah.
I'm really in my dream. It's kind of like that old expression. It's like about the fish, you know that one?
Yes.
How does it go again? It's like, yeah, like a fish sees another fish and it's like, I'm looking for the ocean, you know?
Oh, I
And
was thinking the 3-second memory where they're like, yay,
oh,
we got this. And then they turn around, they're like, yay. I was thinking of Dory.
oh, this is like an old,
Oh,
and it's
no, I
based
don't
on
know
some
that
old,
one.
but so there's a young fish and he asks an older fish, like, I'm looking for the ocean. And the older fish says, you're in the ocean. And he's like, no, this is water. I'm looking for the ocean. I think that's how we can live our lives a lot. And it's a tragedy. Like
Yeah.
I dreamed of like working for myself and, you know, going to Pilates on a Tuesday at 10 o'clock and, you know, and kind of going away, like we're going away tomorrow, just because I felt like it, you know, and having feeling supported and being able to write books. And like, seriously, sometimes I feel like, it can all be real like that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that I don't work, because I do, right? But I'm really enjoying myself. I'm doing what feels like I said, this conversation, I had two other like this today. I've got 2 great media pieces for 2 massive magazines here in the US about ease that I get to write. Like I used to read these pieces from other people and I'd be like, wow, how did they do that? Like, how do they get to like be in magazines with this amazing advice? And so I'm like, I'm enjoying the ocean. I'm not looking for it.
Yeah.
You know, like
I'm swimming, baby.
I'm like, okay, when there's like but look, of course, always bigger, like always expansion. Yeah, always more readers, always a bigger email list, always more revenue, always. I mean, that's the purpose, right? Expansion. And that's fun. And that's also when you're on the right track because people are connecting with what you're doing and more people want in. So I feel like
that
that's
would be my
job.
final question for you is, so I'm always talking about expansion as well and going for that. And sometimes people will say to me like, but we just want to be content with what we have now. And I do find it difficult to explain that, yes, you can actually be perfectly content and happy and joyful with where you are, but still be thriving for expansion. But what's your take on that? Because you're obviously with that too.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Happy where you are, eager for more. Happy where
Yeah.
you are, eager for more. Like I feel very blessed and I appreciate my life. I enjoy it. I really do enjoy myself. You know, it's almost like a bit offensive to some people. Like I take myself out to lunch, I'll write myself a card saying how much I appreciate myself. I'll kiss myself in the mirror. I allow myself
if I'm wink every now and then. That's not yeah, you did.
Do it. Why not? You know, but if I fail at something, I don't judge myself. Like I won't do that. Yeah, I'll go, look, you know, I did my best in that moment. Is that true? Yes. Okay, that's enough. It's all I can do, you know. But yeah, certainly very like content, but no, very hungry and very eager, and they can completely coexist. They're the same thing, right? They're the same thing because the joy is an attractor, right? And like the joy that you feel means you're present, right? Of course, and then that presence is a magnetizer for so much more. So I think that they're not contradictory whatsoever. They're completely aligned. Happy where you are, eager for more.
I love that. Perfect note to finish on. Thank you so much for your time and your wisdom. And everyone, Let It Be Easy is out November 9th. You can order it globally. Thank you so much, Susie. You're amazing.
Thank you, Tina. I love you. Mwah!